All right, all right. Welcome to MTG Anonymous, where we play Altar of the Brood in every single deck. I'm just going to go ahead and ask now because it hasn't been happening, but can you like, comment, and subscribe? And then let me know what you think the best card in the deck is just from looking at this now, and then come back afterwards and let me know what you think is the best card afterwards. So, in this deck tech, we break down World Tree Swarm. This deck really likes Sorry about that. I'm going to leave that in the video because I'm too lazy to edit. So Chulane, Teller Tales, Scoot Swarm, and Alter the Brood are going to help us mill our opponent while generating an endless flood of tokens. It ramps fast with the World Tree and combo loops using Fountain Port Bell for a unique value-based playstyle. Deck highlight: infinite landfall loops with Chulane and Scoot Swarm, mill win condition using Alter the Brood, and then a soft lock potential with the Book of Exalted Deeds on utility lands, which we have one that can do that. Flexible win cons such as tokens, mill, or we can lock our opponent out of the game. What's your favorite land, fall, or mill combo? Comment below, and like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more deck tech combos, and we will eventually get to gameplays. So, let's talk about the deck. This deck is all about ramping fast for cards like Growth Spiral, Spelunking, and the World Tree to set up a multi-pronged combo. The goal is to get Chulane out as soon as possible, and then start using Scoot Swarm to create a loop that floods our board with tokens and mill our opponent out thanks to Alter the Brood. So let's go over, as always, we go over the cards, then how it wins, and all the other important stuff. First off, we have one copy of Woodland Investigator. Top and run green is a sorcery. Search a library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It perpetually becomes a clue artifact in addition to its other types, and gains 2, sacrifice this permanent, draw card. Alter the Brood for 1, you know what it does, you've been on this channel before, but just in case you don't, whenever you play a permanent, cast a permanent, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield, each opponent mills a card. We have 4 copies of this card. We're going to be able to play multiple lands each turn, so we are going to be able to mill our opponents out, and I love that. Fountain Port Bell for 1. When this artifact enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle, and put that on top of the deck. And then for 1, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. So really what we want this card for is to filter the top of our deck, so that way when we use a Eureka Moment or Chulane, we already have a land on top of the battlefield, or excuse me, on top of our deck. So Druid class, this is the first landfall trigger of the deck. For 1 and a green, we have a class. So landfall, whenever a land you control enters, you gain 1 life. So then we can level it up by paying 2 and a green. You may pay an additional land on each of your turns. This just helps us get to our end game faster. And then for 2 and a green again, we level up to level 3. When it becomes level 3, target land you control becomes a creature with haste, and this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. It's still a land. So really, this is not as important, the level 3. We're almost never going to do it unless we just kind of got locked out. Or once we blocked our opponent out and we want to end the game faster because they're just refusing to scoop, then we'll do this. Path to the World Tree for 1 in the green. When it enters battlefield, search your library for your basic land card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then for 2, Wooburg, sacrifice it. You gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Your opponent loses 2 life. It deals 2 damage to up to 1 creature. And then you create a 2/2 green bear. So obviously, you know, we're going to use this to put a land in our hand. And also, we can snipe small things if we need to, and we can create the bear token. Track down is next. For 1 in a green, scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or land card, draw a card. Since most of our things are creatures or lands, more than likely we're going to draw a card. But there's a chance we don't, and even so, scrying 3 is great. Growth Spiral, we have 4 copies. For green, blue, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Again, Fountain Port Bell or Path to the World Tree are going to be very instrumental in using this. Finale of Revelation. For X blue, draw X cards if X is 10 or more. Instead, shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw X cards, untap up to 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Finale of Revelation. So we're going to make a whole bunch of mana. We want to make sure that we have Scoot Swarms. Scoot Swarm draws hate all the time. And so if somehow they did end up in the graveyard, we would pop the Finale of Revelation just to get all our cards back into the deck. Book of Exalted Deeds, I mentioned it in the overview for white, white, white. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. That's not why this is in the deck. For white, 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 tap and exile it. Put an enlightenment counter on target angel. It gains, you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. You can only activate this as a sorcery. So what are we doing with this? Obviously, there's a land in this deck, in pretty much every deck. It's a snow land, so I'll let you guess what it is before we get to it. But it becomes any type, any creature type, or all creature types. More specifically, we use this to make it. So we make it into a land and then, or a creature, and then use this to put the token on the creature. Then, at the end of the turn, it becomes a land. It becomes hard to deal with. Our opponent isn't able to kill us, and then they usually scoop. Scoot Swarm for 2 and a green. It's our other landfall trigger in the deck. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 1/1 green insect token. If we have 6 or more lands, which we almost always will, create a token that is a copy of this instead. We have ways to play multiple lands each turn, so we want to play this first and then start doing so. So Druid class should almost always come after Scoot Swarm. Just saying. Spelunking for 4, there are 4 of them for 2 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you put a cave this way, we can't do that. There are no caves in this deck. You gain 4 life, and then lands you control enter untapped. We have a lot of tapped lands, so this is perfect for this deck. Luris, just in case Path to the World Tree gets destroyed, or we sacrifice it ourselves, or for Fountain Port Bell, we're going to use this to recur. This was in the last deck. It being a creature doesn't matter except for removal. Just once per turn on our turn, you may cast a permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. Again, Alter the Brood, Fountain Port Bell, or Path to the World Tree are going to be what we go after using this card. Next is Eureka Moment. It's Growth Spiral, but double for 2 green blue. It's an instant. Draw 2 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Again, we need cards in this deck because we make a lot of mana. Scoot Swarm likes to see landfalls. Druid class likes to see landfalls. So we're going to aim to do that as many times as we can each turn after Scoot Swarm is in. Glorious Sunrise for 3 green green. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Target land gets tap, add 3 green until the end of turn. Draw a card if you control a creature with power 3 or greater, or gain 3 life. We're almost always going to either gain 3 life if Book of Exalted Deeds is out and we haven't done the combo, or we're going to make it so land is able to tap for 3 green. Why? Because that means Scoot Swarm gets a tap for 1 land, and we can use the rest of our mana to do other things. Chulane, Teller of Tales, again, namesake of the deck for 2 green, white, blue. It's a legendary creature, human druid for 2 and a 4. It's a 2/4 with vigilance. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. For 3 and tap, return target creature you control to its owner's hand. So what are we doing? So we can return either the original Scoot Swarm or Luris to our hand and then play them again because they're only 3-drop creatures. That may make it so that we draw a card and are able to put a land into the battlefield. However, most of the time we already have a land in our hand. So that means we automatically get to put one down, hopefully triggering both Druid class and Scoot Swarm. And we want to continuously do that over and over and over again. Great addition to this deck. We'll go over that after we're done with this, because next should be just the lands. Seagate Restoration, draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand +1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Again, we want to keep drawing cards. If we've already cast Finale of Revelation, most of the time these are going to go in as lands. If we have not cast it, and we want to find it, then we're going to use Seagate Restoration. Pretty much double our hand size. So now let's go over the lands, because actually in this deck, the lands are super important. First off, we have Cave of Frost Dragon. If you control 2 or more other lands, this enters tapped. Again, doesn't matter with Splunking. And then for 4 and a white, this becomes a 3/4 white dragon creature until end of turn. It's still a land. So while we're waiting to get our combo going, we can use Cave of the Frost Dragons. Or if they've destroyed our other creatures that we need, we can also use this to kill our opponent. We have 1 snow-covered plains, Hall of Storm Giants. If you control 2 or more lands, again, this enters tapped. So 5 and a blue. Until end of turn, it becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with Ward 3. Ward 3 means they have to pay that much mana. If not, then it's countered. It's still a land. We have 3 islands. Excuse me, snow-covered island. Den of the Bugbear is actually a funny one because it's in here just for the token generation. So for 3 and a red, until end of turn, it becomes a 3/2, and then whenever it attacks, create a 1/1 goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. It's still a land. We have Argoth, Sanctum of Nature. It enters tapped unless we have a legendary creature. Again, doesn't matter. For 2 green, create a 2/2 green bear creature token, and then mill 3 cards. So this helps both Lurrus, because cards are in our graveyard, and we're also able to make a bear, basically. The meld doesn't matter because we don't have Titania, Voice of Gaia. We have 3 snow-covered forests, a deserted beach, Glacial Fortress, Hengagate Pathway, Overgrown Farm, Restless Prairie. This one becomes a 3/3 green-white Lamia creature until end of turn, and then whenever it attacks, other creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. So we use this to overrun our opponents if we have a whole bunch of Scoot Swarms. Dreamroot Cascade. It's just a blue-green. The World Tree is here to make all our lands cast for any color we want, as long as we control 6 or more lands. Lands we control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, so that helps us turn on our creature lands. A Vashkar Raceway. This gives us Starter Engines. This is in here for the draw and discard effect. So Starter Engine says if you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. And then at max speed, we pay 3 and tap. We discard a card and then draw a card. Mobilize District. For 4, it becomes a 3/3 citizen creature with vigilance until end of turn. It costs 1 less for every legendary creature or planeswalker we control. Only Chulane is in the deck, or Chulane and Lurrus are in the deck, so this could maybe cost just 2. So yeah. And then finally, because I didn't want to go over that, was Faceless Haven. So for tap, add colorless, and then for 3 white snow land. This land, oh, excuse me, not white. Just 3 snow source mana. This land becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types until end of turn. So, let's talk about the tech. Fountain Bell adds bounce loops for Scoot Swarm or Path of the World Tree, triggering additional mill. Why do I say that? Because I can use Fountain Port Bell, then sacrifice it, let it go into the graveyard, use Lurrus to play it again. So that's 2 times mill in 1 turn. The more Altars of the Brood tokens we have, the better it gets. Lurrus turns this combo even better because we can recur Altar of the Brood or Fountain Bell. And then Finale of Revelation and Seagate Restoration will be used to keep our hands big, keep our hands full of mana, basically. So what are the strengths and weaknesses? This makes a whole bunch of tokens, and it makes them fast. There's also a ton of draw power in this deck. There are multiple win conditions, such as just comboing, milling, or destroying our opponent. And then, obviously, Lurrus is very, very resilient. Weaknesses: board wipes can be a little risky. It's reliant on Altar of the Brood or swarming tokens to close the game, meaning removal makes this deck kind of bad. And then vulnerable to all enchantment and artifact removal. So, that's all I have for this deck. If you like this deck tech, if you enjoy decks that ramp hard and combo even harder, then I think this would be a great deck for you. It'll scratch that itch. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more deck techs, and comment below. Once again, do you prefer mill strategies or landfall swarm decks? I really want to know. As you know, I like mill strategies. I also like swarm, so I'm a little conflicted. There are plenty of cards that go in this deck that are perfect, but again, as a free-to-play player with, as you see, not much gold, I can't make the cards. So regardless, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.